Good afternoon, gamers. Jaraoh back. More VOD reviews. We have Kaisa once again in the chamber as we start practicing for Vegas, just as one Silent Knight is doing also in this rendition of Thursday Night Fight. And it looks like his opponent at this point in the event is Annie. And I thought that this match would be interesting for a couple different reasons. One, first and foremost, Kaisa, the most dominant deck in the format at the moment. As of this recording, it won the Chinese National Open as well, in the hands of Apex Zero, I want to say, a former Hearthstone pro. And yeah, there's a couple things to know about Kaisa. For as good as she is, she does have flaws. She has a particularly hard time dealing with very large units, which is why you will see Aurora or mid-range E be a lot of the decks that people are playing to not necessarily counter her, but to give you a really good shot against her, right? The other thing going on here is Annie is a deck that's been picking up in popularity. I posted about it in my Decks of the Week article, or video rather. And I think Annie is very interesting because Annie, I think, plays out or wants to play out very similarly to Kaisa in the sense that you have access to a lot of the same red removal. But there's, in the games that I've played now, I've actually found quite a few interesting points of note. So Kaisa, to me, actually isn't the tempo deck that people make her out to be. I think she's much more of a mid-range deck. I think you want to be playing medium-length to long-length games more than people would have you believe. And I think as long as you keep your card advantage flowing, you are very favored in a lot of endgame scenarios, especially if you're playing Time Warps or Singularity or any of the big cards to close out games. Annie, I actually think, upon playing more often with her, is the tempo deck here. I think she is the deck that needs the game to end reasonably early. If she can get to 6 victory points, she can close games out with Vi Ride the Wind. Specifically, that combo is very good against Kaisa. Kaisa, aside from just stacking a massive battlefield, doesn't have any ways to interact with that 2-card combination. But the problem that I've had with Annie in this particular matchup is that your cards are actually just outclassed, right? Your 2-drops are weaker. You have the same mid-game package of Darius and Kaisa, right? But Sneaky Deckhand does not fight well. Your other 2-drops, like the Poro, do not fight as well as Ravenbloom Student. And because you actually have to sacrifice your resources, unlike Kaisa, you end up in this spot where the longer the game goes, you actually end up getting out-carded pretty heavily. And it's really reliant for your ability to win the game to be able to close sooner rather than later. If the game goes to a 7, 8, 9 turn range, if the Kaisa player isn't at 6 and kind of fumbling around, or vice versa, if you're not at 6 points with the Kaisa player kind of fumbling around, at that stage of the game, I think your ability to win is almost non-existent. You're kind of all in the late game on this Vi Ride the Wind combo, and you just don't have the same card advantage engines that the Kaisa deck does. But having said that, the purple tricks are very good against the big creatures, right? So that Annie matches up better against the Aurora-style decks on average, I feel like, than Kaisa. At least once they have the Aurora engine going, right? I think in general, Kaisa still performs better for the obvious reasons. It's leaner, it's more consistent, it plays more powerful cards on average, but it does have benefits that it can lean into that other archetypes like Kaisa do not have. So let's go ahead and get into these games here. One Silent Knight. Setting up our mulligan. We do not have a 2-drop, so we have to send some stuff back. I like this mulligan decision quite a bit. I think Void Seeker to answer an enemy Kaisa is very important. Ray, totally good removal spell for us to have lined up. Not a good hand at the moment. We would really want... Well, let's see if we're on the player draw. If we were on the draw, Yeah, I mean, this hand is just not particularly that great for us, but it is what it is. If we're on the draw, we have a chance to spike a couple different cards, like the Yordle. If we're on the play, we're kind of just looking for one of our 6 2-drops, most likely, maybe 7, depending on the list. And if we miss, we miss. It's not the end of the world. We did hit Student. Very lucky draw. We take those. Any player gets their 3rd rune. Maybe starting off with something like a deckhand, it looks like. Yep. And just right off the bat, you see what I'm kind of talking about. This just like, it just doesn't fight well at all. Just doesn't fight well at all. They're actually like quite lucky that we don't have just like a Stupefy type card that we could. Oh, they're thinking about going Reavers row? Interesting. Yeah, I mean, against that, you probably should go Reavers row, realistically. Just because it's so likely that your thing is going to get beat up in combat otherwise. Yep, this play, totally great. No issue with that. I would probably... See, you don't really want to discard a card. Oh, wait, what is this? There's no way we're Wait. Why? I'm so confused. Okay. I don't know what they were trying to do there. Yep, and you should just send your student over at Reavers, absolutely. Totally fine. We have no issue with that. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. The Annie is just going to play cards that lose inherent value to try and close the game out. And already you can kind of see the Annie starting to fall behind in cards. And yeah, without that hopeful, they would have been completely outmatched because the Poro just does not line up well in combat. Interesting draw. Yep, I like this discarding Ravenbloom student. See what we draw. So it looks like we're Kai'Sa-ing. Yep. I have no problem with this play. It's a little awkward if we get Void Seekered, but I think it's likely right. Opponent did not have a Void Seeker. Upon looking back at that further, I may have just played the Kai'Sa and not tried to conquer or accelerate. Oh, the opponent drew Void Seeker. That ends up being a very good draw for them. Nothing we can do about that. Down goes the Kai'Sa. We're still up a trillion cards, so I think we're overall very happy with this exchange. We're lucky that they had to spend the resources on their turn to do it. And Silent is covering up the... putting multiple units in Reavers is almost never right. I do sympathize with the fact that you don't really want to send your hopeful into our hopeful when we're representing 1 mana. But yeah, and just right here, I want to do a quick pause, because this is kind of exactly what I was talking about in the build-up. Look at the situation we're in the game right now. Point totals are 2-2. I'm pretty sure, right? Because they only conquered with Deckhand. And then they went 2-drop into Hopeful the turn before. So point totals are 2-2. And the Kai'Sa player is up resources and cards at hand. I mean, that's just a completely massive place to be. We're already representing our hold points. We have the ability to, like, maybe line up a big Darius attack or something, but, you know, that's not, like, foolproof, right? Because the opponent can very easily have, like, fight or flight here or something along those lines. But, not sure how much I like killing the Poro there. But you do what you gotta do, I guess. And then we're moving the Hopeful back, or no? So does the opponent have another Void Seeker? Do they have Fight or Flight? It looks like it might be Flash. Oh, it's Spectral. Yeah. And I mean, once again, you can see why the Annie deck is absolutely a tempo deck. I mean, 1 card in hand, sacrificing the resources for any advantage they can get. They hold go up to 3 points, but I mean, this game's already over. There's, like, no way that the Annie can recover from this spot. What does the Annie player need to do? No flash or fight or flight in the trash yet. I don't think playing our Legend Annie is crazy high value, but if we don't have anything else, you need to play it probably to just add to the board. You likely want to keep the Hopeful in Reavers row and represent the hold, just because you can always pull it back if the Darius comes back down. I can't imagine a world where you ever want to pick back up the Rebuke. I mean, you only have 2 purple resources, right? So you can't even play the Rebuke if you play the Annie. Yep. There's no way you put it in Reavers. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense unless you're trying to actually fight the Darius, but I just don't think you should be doing that. I don't think putting Annie in Reavers makes any sense, personally. But maybe they're just gambling on the Darius because we're only going up to 6 resources, not being able to double spell, but interesting. We need to tap our Kaisa, obviously, but I like leading with this line here. Yep, flash. Get the flash out of the way. Thinking about one or both. Kind of irrelevant. I mean, you should probably leave the Hopeful there, realistically. I mean, because you already know the Darius is coming down. Just, like, make yourself proc the Reavers row. But it's ultimately the same thing. It doesn't really matter. The reason... Alright, I'm going to pause there just because it's like a quick theory thing. It won't take long. The Hopeful should have just stayed here because you already know that we have Darius. If you leave the Hopeful in, that makes it much more likely that we're just going to play the Darius and attack here, and then you just proc Reavers row anyways. All you've done by going ahead and flashing the Hopeful is now we don't actually have to commit to the Darius. We can play something else because you're not getting the hold point anymore. So this was just like, you just gave the Kaisa player a chance to get some extra agency. You just gave them a choice that you didn't need to give them. Because now, like, our hand is like, we could just play double 2-drop, and I kind of think we should now, right? And that's the point that I was making, is if we play this Darius, we get a point, and that's not a bad thing, but we could just take this opportunity to develop our board, play double 2-drop, and then we can still play a hasted Darius the next turn, and we'll have a much better board position at the cost of 1 victory point. Silent decides to even go an even better route and sit on Voidseeker, which I think this play is very good. And this is just a play that the Annie player did not have to give us. I would be... Let's see. Yeah, you have to let this go. It's not a high priority retreat unit anyways, and you really just want to get Voidseeker value. You really want Voidseeker value. Annie player up to 4. Discard Portal to draw. Yep, we Voidseeker this. Absolutely. Our Kaisa should have been exhausted already. I think maybe Silent Knight gibbed a resource there. Because he should have... I think he didn't tap the Kaisa to sack a resource to the Ray, if my memory serves. Because we were at 4 resources the turn before and only went up to 6 the next turn. And we played Ray for sure. So we should have been down a resource there. Yeah, I mean, that can just happen in these online games where the client doesn't automatically do it for you. So it's obviously not, like, perfect, but ultimately good enough. Alright, we deny the hold point, which is very valuable. And I'm probably pretty interested in just double 2-drop here. Once again, I don't think there's a big benefit to playing the Darius when we... Yeah, so he just wants to get the 6th victory point, which I do think is fair. I do think getting the 6th victory point is fair. I think there would have been a very good argument to just playing double 2-drop, though, and sitting on one of your 1-mana cards. 10 cards in trash means I mean, yeah, I was just going to say Vi Ride the Wind is going to be annoying, but it's only going to get the opponent to 6 victory points. Three, so they're making 6. Yup. Obviously, my play of just playing a bunch of 2-drops looking much, much better. We get to pull the Darius back, so it doesn't really matter. Yep. And basically, the most important thing now, I think, is with the enemy going up to 6 points, you want a plan for Bounce My Vi and Second Ride the Wind. With 9 cards in the trash, it's basically of utmost importance that we sit on our tricks this turn. We've got enough instants that I think we should play... I think we should play Sentry and then attack our Darius into the Vi. That way we have the ability to play a spell and proc Darius. I don't like this play. I don't like this play at all. And the reason that I don't like this play is because that -1 might be very important if they do have... Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this. So they're stack decking. Yeah, I think we should have just threatened to kill the Vi. I think we needed to threaten to kill the Vi. What you need to do here to play around your only real lose condition from my prerogative is... I mean, they've got access to the Ride the Wind if they put another purple resource into play already. I think you just need to stack a big battlefield. Alternatively, I also kind of want it noted, if we had just played a bunch of 2-drops, like I kind of wanted to do, we would be able to threaten a much larger board presence, and we would be going to 7 this turn. We wouldn't have had the ability to win the game, but we can't win the game this turn anyways, unless we had drawn a... accelerated threat, so maybe that's a good enough reason to line up the Darius. I'm willing to buy that, but I still think using the Stupefy here was quite a blunder. I'm not sure why we didn't want to try to kill this Vi. So this is correct, but I'm just not sure why we didn't try to fight the Vi. Yeah, I mean, they just have Ride the Wind on the board. So they go to 7. They can make Vi a 10 after they play the Annie and pick up... Well, they don't even need Ride the Wind anymore. 13. So I think we have this covered, right? Yeah, we just for sure have this covered, but... Yep. 9. But see, now our Darius doesn't even pump. Yeah, it's just not right. So, some missed sequencing there. I mean, the opponent obviously, like, any number of tricks, right? Yep. 100%. 100%. And that's the game for the Annie player. Yep. So, we may have lost anyways because they had the second fight or flight, but what you needed to do there was... attack Zaun. First off, you just give yourself an extra chance to draw a card. So it's entirely possible that you just draw an accelerated threat that way and get your 8th point and win the game. But what you needed to do is you needed to force one of these fighter flights. Turns out they had 2, so you maybe don't win anyways. But you get the fighter flight. That is what would have been the 8th card. No, there were 10 cards, right? We made the Vi 13. So it would have been the 11th card in the graveyard at that in the trash at that point, right? Because they have to bring their Vi back because they can't win without it. They could alternatively try to fight or flight our Darius, but you really can't make that play. You would have had to bounce back your Vi because we had not procced our Darius yet. So we could have just gone play thing, ready it, and then we get to attack the Vi again. So they would have brought their Vi back to base. And then the Ride the Wind Annie play is on the board. So then we would have gotten to discard draw with Zaun. And then we could have flooded the board the same way that we did, but we would have had Stupefy still, and we would have had the mana to proc Darius. So imagine that scenario, the exact same scenario we did, right? We have the Darius, plus the Student, plus the Poro, plus the Sentry. So that's 5, 10. We would have been able to play 2 spells, so that bumps our Student to 12, Darius to 14, and we get the additional -1 on Vi. So in that scenario, the Vi is only 14 minus 5, it's 9. So we would have actually won. My cats are going crazy. We would have actually won that combat and forced this second fight or flight. And we would have forced the Annie to pick up the Ride the Wind. Whereas in this scenario, the Annie could just pick up the fight or flight as well, right? Because we still haven't used it. So I think there was a lot that maybe we could have still done to keep playing in that game. But a lot of the decisions were good overall. I have no issue with a lot of the early game decisions and stuff. I do think a lot of it comes down to you need to understand your role in the game. And like I said, the Annie deck is absolutely the tempo deck. You should, as the Kai'Sa player, be trying to play a slower, grindier game. What do we want in this matchup? So, we already fight really well. I do not think that we need... Interesting. I do not think this is a matchup where you need a Cathian Rain. If anything, I think this is more of a Time Warp matchup because you just need to retake tempo, even though it's a very expensive card. Yeah, you've got to cut Cleave, I think. I think Cleave is an easy cut. Don't love cutting Stupefy. I do think you can realistically cut all of your Cleaves, though. But I think you want Stupefies even more if you're cutting Cleave. It also just lines up with your removal really well. Yeah. The way I'm really interested in the way Silent is sideboarding here. My gut instinct would be I would want to cut my Cleaves for Time Warps. And basically call it a wrap. Does look like he ended up putting Time Warp in his deck, which I think makes sense. We've got Dreaming Tree this time. Not one of my favorite Kai'Sa battlefields, but it's certainly totally defensible. We've got a Dreaming Tree mirror match. I do think if you have Dreaming Tree, you probably should not get rid of your Cleaves for what it's worth. Interesting. Yeah, I don't like... I was pretty happy to cut my Cleaves for the sideboarded game, but I don't know how much I love cut Cleave and then play Dreaming Tree. Alright, that mulligan decision makes sense to me. Keep your Darius as a big efficient threat, and we have already got the Student, and we're probably signing ourselves up for just turn 2 Student, or turn 1 Student, turn 2 Kai'Sa. Especially with the retreat in our hand, I think we're very happy to, turn 1 Deckhand again. Opponent goes to 1. Probably let them get the hold point. Oh, Cleave is a pretty interesting draw. I still think you have to get Kai'Sa online, though. It's like a little annoying if the enemy has Kai'Sa. It's like very annoying if the enemy has Kai'Sa. I don't know, man. But you just don't get to add to the board this play. I think this play is fine. Makes total sense. It also lets you kind of... Yeah. I would have been really inclined to just send my Student left and develop the Kai'Sa. Oh, we drew Yordle. What a draw. Completely rewarded. Drawing Yordle off of our Dreaming Tree trigger. Wow, 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 wow. Rewarded. I would have played that more cautiously, I think. I would have just developed our Kaisa. Alright. We deny the hold point, which is nice. And we get 2 for 1 on the Falling Star. One of the reasons that I think developing Kaisa is good. Opponent sends in again. 2 to 1 on points. And do they really want to play another unit? They do not have another unit to play. That's very good for us. We've got Sprite Mother. Almost certainly jamming Sprite Mother. Right? Like, you want to deny the victory point. We've already chosen that we didn't want to develop Kaisa last turn. I think we just developed the Sprite Mother and then develop the Hopeful. I think this makes a ton of sense. Attack first because we can represent the Stupefy if we want to, but yeah, I think this play makes a ton of sense. It makes enough sense that I don't really know what we're thinking about. We're never thinking about going to the left Dreaming Tree, right? Yeah. You always just attack and make them play a spell. Is he thinking about stupefying his own thing? No way. Fight or flight, so they'll draw a card. Bounce their thing back, and we just get to develop this Hopeful. Do we ever put the Hopeful on Dreaming Tree? Yeah, I don't like this play at all. We're valuing drawing 2 cards over putting a gigantic body in play. That's exactly what the... So, again, from what I've watched of Silent, Silent's a very, very good gamer. Very, very good decision-making in general. My take watching these games is he's just misunderstanding his role. You need to be fighting for the board very early as the Kaisa player, and your card advantage will take you through there. So obviously, like, that play looks good because you're drawing 2 cards, but you're just making it that much easier for the anti-player to go up to 3 and then 4 points the next turn, and that's how they're going to parlay the game, because their cards just don't work as well as yours in the late game, especially when we have this Acathian Rain that we're reasonably close to casting. Yeah, I would have liked just getting the Hopeful developed there, but drawing cards has its benefit as well. Of course, it always does. Did it not? Okay. It was very, very still there. I thought the video was still paused. All right. Yeah, I really wanted to develop that Hopeful. All right. Enemy player in the tank. They send over to the open battlefield. They go up to 3. Presumably, they're not going to get to 4 this turn. Like, they could Kaisa. But I think that they would be... I mean, the way that we just played a Stupefy like that, I would think that they would be really afraid of another Stupefy. And they're going Reinforce with the Poro. Interesting. I wonder if they're going for an even bigger hold. I don't... Going for this big of a hold against a Kaisa deck is kind of terrifying. Because isn't it just so easy to get Kaisa or Darius out of the game? I mean, so that kind of leads me to believe they must have Flash. They've already played 1, but that would make me think that they've got Flash. But see, now our board is just so underdeveloped. I really wish we would have developed the 4/4 last turn. It looks like it's tough. See, now we're forced to Void Seeker. Yeah, I mean, I do think this play makes a lot of sense because we want to be able to pass focus when we go to start a fight. So I do think that this play makes sense. Is the enemy doing anything? They are not. Okay, so we go up to 3. I think it's correct for the opponent to not want to fight over that. I mean, the Poro is just not a good enough unit to fight over. This Stupefy makes a lot of sense. And then I would be pretty interested in just developing the Yordle. The student fights a little bit better, so student sit on retreat I think is totally valid. Oh, he wants to sit on everything. Yeah, I don't really like this, but I do get it. Again, I like trying to save my smoke screen for the Vi Ride the Wind turn, and the enemy is not gonna play Vi Ride the Wind at this stage of the game. So I would have just liked continuing to develop my board, personally. Nothing wildly interesting in the enemy trash. I don't think we're expecting Annie yet. Second deckhand. Enemy goes up to 4. And, I mean, raw dogging a Vi, this is a very interesting play by the opponent. I mean, this just plays into Falling Stars so hard. Yeah, I don't know what the opponent was thinking there. You basically just can't play the Vi in that scenario, I don't think. I don't know what their other 3 cards in hand are, but I think you basically just can't play Vi in that spot. Yep. I like this play over playing the Darius. Just draw your card. Go up to 5. And yeah, now we're in a pretty dominant spot, but I think that's more or less because our opponent's hand was like pretty bad and they made some blunders themselves. We could have been much further ahead on board, I feel like. All right, so there's the second Vi, which you have to predict was coming because otherwise their play doesn't make any sense. This is one of the reasons I think I would have pulled back Sprite Mother, because I think a lot of this was pretty predictable, but you do get to grind a lot of the cards out of their trash, so there is value in that. There's definitely value in that. Yep. Day 5 and then 6. And then I think we should almost certainly start our turn with Hextech Ray. Yep, I like this a lot. And then I think we should 3, 4, 5. So my issue with Darius here, I do think playing Darius is good. But we just can't add anything to the board now, because now we're in the stage of the game where I think we have to sit on our spells. And see, and now we're developing. That's just the sequencing that he's chosen to go is very strange to me. Very strange sequencing. The good news is we are not dead to another Vi Ride the Wind if they have the third Vi, right? Because they would only be able to make it a 7. So that's good. They could Annie, Ride the Wind, Vi. Nope, still not enough. I was thinking maybe they could also Fight or Flight, but it looks like they're a little too behind on that. So they're gonna Falling Star Darius, which we're pretty happy with. Yep, I think this retreat play is obviously fantastic. And they're gonna play their own Darius and go up to, is that 6 or 7? 7. But then with only 1 resource, we... Yeah, I feel like... It's tough. It's tough. It's very, very easy for us to just lose to a Fight or Flight this game. Very, very easy for us to just lose to a Fight or Flight. But you do what you gotta do. Opponent's only got 1 card in hand. You just gotta hope that they miss. Yep, so we go to 7. No way you can play another unit here. Whoa! Whoa, 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 whoa. Absolutely no way you could play another unit there. Yeah, you have to sit on smokescreen and pray. I understand that the logic is like any accelerated threat, but yeah, I think you'd sit on smokescreen now for sure and just try to win with hold. Best, like, worst case scenario for you is like they Annie fight or flight and you don't get the hold point, but then you obviously have both your units, so you can threaten double conquer that way. Should be pretty hard for the enemy to win from this spot. It would basically require third Vi. What is so third Vi? I think third Vi they would still need another way to get another card in the trash. Kaisa, so they'll draw 2 cards and basically just pray that they can get fight or flight. Step 1 is obviously they have to remove Ardarius from battlefield, but even then I think it would be like pretty elementary to double conquer from here. Stack deck, so yeah, that's just gonna do it. Because obviously, like, even now if you find fight or flight, you don't have a chance to do anything before we get the hold point. All right, very interesting game. Very, very close game. They did have the third Vi, which I think was kind of expected, but they didn't have quite enough cards in the bin. Didn't have quite enough cards in the bin. All right. Shuffle up. And let's get game 3 going. We're going to be on the draw. We've got Targons against Arena's Greatest. This is a hard one to win. Arena's Greatest is going to be very good against us here. Targons is very good for us, to be fair, because we get to mitigate a little bit of the anti-legend ability. Maybe get some double spelling of our own. Very, very good draw as well. If our opponent plays a unit, I would have a lot of interest in maybe Stupefy plus Hopeful and just develop the 4/4. Oh, especially now that we drew another... Nah, I would have wanted to develop the Hopeful, I think, here. It's just a bigger unit. It fights better. We immediately get to punish wherever the merchant goes. Because as it stands right now, it's just a trade, right? Yep, and they're going to go up to 3 victory points just like that. That's so scary. That's so scary. So, and then they get to discard a Vi, draw a card for the merchant, and then they get to ready all of their resources because of Targon's plus the Annie ability. Man, I would have really liked for us to have a Hopeful in play right now. Interesting draw. Interesting draw. I think we should play that. I just think it's so likely that you get flashed in this spot, though. And getting flashed is like the nightmare scenario, no? Are we getting... Wow, we're getting Void Seekered? Our Poro is getting Void Seekered? I have a really hard time believing that that's the right play by the opponent. I do not think fighting over these tiny 2-drops is important enough. I do like the Void Seeker line, though. I just kind of wish that we, like I said, I just kind of wish that we still had the 4 might in play. But I mean, if they were gonna Void Seeker it, the Poro, which there's no way to know that because it's quite frankly pretty terrible to do. Yeah, I mean, you should, in theory, be able to get a lot of information out of the anti-player's hand from that. If they're willing to Void Seeker the Poro there and lose 2 resources, recycle 2 resources, they don't have any big cards in their hand, right? I think you now know that they do not have any Kaisas, they do not have any Darius, and they were all in on early tempo. So you can use that information to your benefit. And yeah, just like that, they're up to 5 points and withdrawing the merchant. Man, we're getting just completely out-tempoed here. The falling star is going to be massive. We're, of course, going to do that. And then we probably are just... Yeah. I don't... My gut instinct is that I just would have wanted to Yordle plus Hopeful here, but... Yeah. Yeah, our spot is pretty atrocious. The game is winnable if our opponent's hand is bad. Like I said, we know that they pretty much have just a bunch of small cards. But obviously they could top deck one of the big cards. I wouldn't be surprised if this was an Annie turn. Annie turn, pick something up, pass, sit on 4, ready runes. That would not surprise me. Another merchant. And another merchant. And still sit on 4 runes and continue to hold their Annie. I think that's totally fine. I think I would have liked to start with Kaisa Conquer on Targons. It's minor. Like, you're probably always playing the Poro, or the Yordle. But, oh my god, we drew another Falling Star. Very insane draw step. Very insane draw step. Absolutely bonkers. Got bailed out there a little bit, I think, if I'm being honest. Drawing the second Falling Star there. But I think we still had totally decent spots to fight. Silent forgot to untap his 2 resources. We could at least threaten this smoke screen. And yeah, I mean, 9 cards in the bin. If the opponent has Vi Ride the Wind, we're in a decent bit of danger because it'll be so hard to prevent them from ever getting 1 point again. The opponent doesn't, know this, but yeah, if they have Vi Ride the Wind, they really want to do it now just because Smokescreen is down. Presumably, they wouldn't play the Vi naked like that, right? So I think it's, like, pretty reasonable to assume they've got the Ride the Wind. And then they're just thinking about which battlefield they want to end on, which I assume is Targon's. But I guess it doesn't actually matter that much. I think it's ultimately the same thing. Ending on Targon's just makes it a little bit harder for us as the Kaisa player to conquer it, even though it's not really true because you know that the Vi is going to die, presumably. Yep, they make it a 6. The only thing that you would need to play around is a Stupefy here, so that's the correct number of cards to leave in. Oh. I guess you can do this if you're playtesting with a buddy, but that changes everything, obviously, if he's untapping the runes in the middle of the opponent taking their turn. Yeah? Well, then now you just have to remove more cards, obviously, because you have to play around a lot more things. But Smokescreen, Stupefy is at the top of that list. You should for sure just, assume that they have both. It's definitely annoying because you want to leave some, relevant card in your graveyard for the Annie. Alright, opponents. What are we thinking about? We've already pumped the Vi, so we know that the Ride the Wind is coming, because it wouldn't make sense otherwise. So we're bumping to 10, which is the right thing to do, because the maximum that we could interact with is -5. There is the Ride the Wind. We kill the Kaisa. We go up to 7 from the Double Conquer. I think I don't love... Oh, okay, we're not playing the Smokescreen. Good. I don't mind playing the Stupefy. I definitely don't want to play the Smokescreen there. Wow. We're not going for the 7 points. I think that's a great play, actually. We've already They've already seen double Falling Star. It's presumably safe in the back line. The fact that we drew that Ray means that we're probably going to win anyways. But it's a very good play by the Annie player. That's a good pickup. That is a good pickup. Yep, we go to 3. We get to ready a bunch of resources. We get to go to 4. Oh, they're gusting us. I think we don't. Oh, wow. I mean, we totally don't care about that. Jesus. We're very happy to just draw another card. I almost wonder if there's any way where that's the right play by the Annie player. Don't you just assume we have a Darius or something at this point and we're going to get that point anyways? I feel like bouncing the Yordle can't be good. As it stands now, we just get to Darius plus Yordle. We should not. Yeah, because we conquered. Oh, we're going to go for just massive hold. I think it's too early to do that. Especially with our hand being set up as good as it is. I definitely think you need to play... Oh, so we're just passing and sitting on everything? I don't like that either, right? We gotta play something. Yeah. Yep, and then we get to ready our 2 resources from Targons. Looks like we remember this time. Very nice. And yeah, I mean, they just can't make the Vi big enough. No cards in hand. And the ability is scary, but not scary enough. We've just got enough answers to the Ride the Wind. And they just can't make their Vi big enough. I don't think I love the Darius hold. Let's see, how do I feel about the Darius hold? I think I would have wanted to just go to 4 points. I see the vision. I see what he's trying to set up. But I think it's just so likely that you need to close the game out faster. Like, sooner rather than later. And obviously, like, being at 4 points and representing double hold is much faster than 3 points and representing double hold. This is presumably the Annie turn. Yep, and we are picking up... I think we have a fight or flight in the graveyard. Oh, we're picking up the... Why are we picking up Gust? Picking up Gust is so weird to me. Void Seeker, another great draw because we can just pair that with our smoke screen. Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's just 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I mean, realistically, this turn is just 2-drop into Darius and take the arena's greatest points. And then we still get to sit on Smokescreen plus Ray. If you were really afraid, you could not hold arena's greatest, but I think you should. I don't think you should let your opponent get to 7 for free. Are we really just going to pass? It's very interesting. Yeah, I think you have to do this. Yeah, I like this play. Don't just give them the 7th point for free. I like this play a lot. Like, if they find a way to win through Smokescreen Ray, more power to them. But you definitely have to try to end the game. Stack deck that's scary. That's one of the best ways to do it. It's an extra card in the graveyard for Vi, plus they get to look at something. We already know they have Gust, so we've already used our Annie ability, so we're not really afraid of Ride the Wind. I mean, it would have to be like Gust Student. Yeah, I mean, I think Silence just got this game locked up. I'm having a really hard time seeing what it would be. We've just built too big of a board, and there's not enough cards in the trash for Vi to eat off of. We know about the Gust. Gust is always going to want to pick up the Student here, because you definitely don't want us to pick up Yordle again. And then what are the other 2 cards? What's like the worst case scenario for us? I feel like it would have to be something like a Kaisa or a Darius of their own. Like, if they played a Darius here go into our Darius, force us to Smokescreen, and then Ride the Wind. Is that enough? I think that's still not enough. I think that's still not enough. That would be like the scariest thing, though. Because that would be 6 cards, that would be 9, that would be 12. Yup. Wait. Why is that better than targeting students? Just because you're afraid of getting double spelled? I don't think you should ever. If they play 2 spells there, aren't you just like cooked anyways? I think you're supposed to just gust the student there, very likely. And then we're doing this play because we want to trade with students. I think we should just raid this for sure. Yep. Oh, actually, this could be. No, it's the same. Yeah, you're supposed to raid this there. I was gonna say this could be a weird like bait tactic, but because we get to represent the 3 damage from the student against the Vi anyways, this is functionally the same thing. It's just strictly better. So good sequencing by Silence. 100% correct to fight over that Annie attack that's trying to trade with the student. And then we're just representing Smokescreen and Seeker, but the Smokescreen's the more important one here. And is 5 our right point total? Did he give ourselves our hold? 7? Okay, so yeah, now all we care about is 1 big hold. I mean, we should just go crazy big on Targons. 6 cards in the trash. You should just go crazy. You should just go crazy hard on Targons. There's no counterplay to it. You should just 3-3-5. So it's probably because you don't really need to draw any more cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and then you get to sit on Smokescreen Void Seeker. You should probably just go Darius. Yep, this is the right play. Darius into Sentry, sit on both your spells. He's going to go Yordle, which is also fine, I think. Cleave doesn't do anything. Cleave actually does do something. We should definitely not play another unit. We should sit on Smokescreen plus Cleave, because even though Assault doesn't do anything on defense, it's a second spell for us to play to buff our Darius. So yeah, we're representing 14, 18, 22. We're representing 24 on Targons. This is 100% the right play by Silent. Absolutely the correct play. The Annie player should be on 0 outs here. I'm having a hard time even, like, if the cards were fight or flight, ride the wind. That would be bounce both Darius. We represent 10. There would be 9 cards in the graveyard. 12. Still wouldn't be enough because it wouldn't get by our Smokescreen. Right? Because we could still Cleave plus Smokescreen, and again, Cleave doesn't do anything while we're defending, but it would still buff our student, and that would be 10 versus 12 minus 4 is 8. So yeah, even in the scenario where they have fight or flight, ride the wind, we would win. They're going Darius here. Now 7 cards in the graveyard. I mean, this doesn't conquer. I think you just let this happen, no? Because then it would be 8 cards. They eat. Yeah, we still have Smokescreen for Vi. I think you just let this happen. No, I guess not. Yeah, I guess you just don't let this happen because you want your Dariuses to live. It's very important that they live. Is there any reason to Cleave now to go ahead and proc our Darius, or do you just want that to be hidden information? You probably just wait. Like, your student being a 4 doesn't matter here, right? Because they've only got 6. They can only deal with the Hopeful plus the Yordle anyways. Yep. This all makes sense to me. This all makes sense. Darius goes down. 8 cards in the bin. They can get up to 11 if they were to remove all of them, attack the Darius, and then they could make it a 12th card, but the 12th card doesn't actually do anything because we can cleave as a random spell that has no... Yep. This ending sequence was very well played by Silent Knight. Yep. We play the cleave, ready our guys, and our board is too massive. The Vi can't break through. Vi can only get to 12, and we trump that, and we get our hold point. Very fun match. Very fun match. Lots of decisions that I think were kind of interesting throughout. Like I said, I've actually played this match a lot, and I think the early tempo matters a ton. But Annie is on the rise, and this is kind of why, because if people aren't aware of your closing speed and your ability to kind of like tempo out games because you get to play so many spells because of your Annie Legend ability, you can definitely catch people off guard. This deck is very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. I mean, you're just watching Ride the Wind do some filthy things with Vi, because that's its like main combo piece, right? But Ride the Wind can do a lot of filthy things with Darius as well. So this is a deck that utilizes that card quite powerfully. All right, guys. I do believe that is going to do it for this session. If you enjoyed the show, go ahead and throw me out a like, a comment, and a subscribe. It does help out the algorithm quite a bit, and I would very much appreciate it. I'm enjoying doing these for you guys still. It is. I will probably do them a little less frequently as more work comes in, and also I want to make sure that I'm targeting matches that I think are very important to what the meta is going to look like. I don't really just want to do like one a day just for the sake of doing one a day if the content isn't going to be good. And then in addition to that, I do think that more people are going to be looking to do kind of like in-person and IRL content now that the game is officially released. So we'll see. Got some ideas in the chamber cooking. But until then, guys, I will see you all next time. Peace!